Today we are in the live format for demo days, and the topic for today is achieve complete observability over your data pipelines. This topic has been widely requested to us, and that's something that we wanted to really talk in depth. To talk about how to keep your observability for your data pipelines, we have Kushagra Deshmukh. So Kushagra is a solution engineer at Hevo. He's also a SnowPro Advanced certificate holder, and he has vast experience in data industry. I'm so happy for you, Kushagra. You can join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Moving on, I'll just quickly run everybody through the agenda and I'll let the expert handle the rest. Um, so today we're going to be talking about, first of all, why do we want to discuss about this modern data challenge, right? What observability actually really means. How does Hevo handle observability inside? Basically, we'll walk you through a little bit of our how we fit into your stack, and we'll also then go to the live demo bit, which is how can you actually see pieces of observability right now in Hevo, and how can you probably identify wherever you are in whatever architecture setup you are right now. And then we'll go to a customer case, how observability has helped our customers at Hevo. I think just like a few more points before we get into the demo day. It's a listen only demo day, so feel free to put your questions while we are going through these slides and the demo in the chat, and we'll take it over towards the end. We have a 5 minute section for that as well. Awesome. So, going to the topic today and setting some context for everybody, what do you think is the modern data challenge now with, I think, everything coming up with AI features and every a new feature pops up every day, right? So, what do you think is the challenge right now?
Yeah, you rightly mentioned that, hey, new data sources coming up, new requirements coming up. Across most data teams today, because of this increase in number of requirements, there's a very limited visibility into what's happening inside your pipelines, your warehouses. Because of this, issues often surface only when a dashboard breaks or when a stakeholder notices something off. And by that point, decisions have already been impacted. Troubleshooting becomes slow because of failures staying hidden until they cause real damage, leading to longer downtime and wasted budget. I mean, these challenges are universal, regardless of the tools or the scale of your organization. Now, how do we tackle this challenge? Well, the keyword is observability.
I think it's pretty interesting. We have all been in those shoes, right? Where we go on with a report, and at the end moment, that report is not working and the dashboard is not working. So, let's move on to our keyword. Like, what does observability actually really means for the users?
Yeah, it's a very contemporary term, right? But observability is more than monitoring. It's about understanding your data's health across multiple dimensions. Some of them are mentioned over here. Freshness. Is your data up to date? What about volume? Are row counts as expected as you wanted it to be? Latency. Is data arriving within a SLA, which you have promised to your stakeholders? And also schema. Uh, any fields change, any structure change unexpectedly, is that being handled? These dimension found, a healthy, dependable data ecosystem and are very genuine requirements. Well, we've got all of this covered for you.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Moving on to like end-to-end observability, how do you think that we cover that in Hevo, especially when it comes to our, how we've basically set up our architecture?
Definitely. Hevo brings complete transparency to your pipeline. You can trace a record from source to destination. You can monitor every job in real time and also instantly and identifying bottlenecks, latency spikes, schema changes. So actually, instead of investigating blind, you get full visibility into every stage of your data movement. Um, these are some of the building blocks which Hevo has utilized for building, the end-to-end observability.
Got it. Understood. And pretty interesting that we have covered like four major ways that we kind of provide observability. Let's kind of try to deep down into like all of these one by one, right? Why do you think like alerting as a mechanism comes, in part of observability, and why does it actually matter?
Yeah, it's a very general progression. You'll be like, Kushagra, you're telling me about all of the observability insights. How am I getting communicated regarding this? That's where alerts matter. Hevo provides adaptive alerts for failures, schema drift, volume anomalies, even latency issues, which are intelligently designed to avoid any sort of alert fatigue. So you can configure custom thresholds, you can route alerts through Slack, email, and from any alert, you can jump straight into logs, enabling fast and focused debugging. So that's how we are setting the standard in terms of communicating the observability pointers to you.
That that actually makes sense, because nobody wants to be bombarded with, every single thing while they're working on their pipeline. It should be technically a set and forget for them as well. Makes sense. Um, Moving on to like built for collaboration and governance, how do you think that plays role in in observability?
Well, that's like the final progression, right? You'll ask me, okay, observability set, I know my insights through alerts. How do I standardize this across my organization, right? How do I enforce them to my entire team? So Hevo is strengthening the governance and collaboration for you as well as you scale. You can enforce role-based access. You can maintain audit-ready logs for your compliance. You can perform, fixes directly within your dashboard, and also track every deployment and change across the system. What this is giving you is a consistency, traceability, and a compliance ready for your organizational needs.
Got it, understood. And how does Hivo kind of fits into the stack?
Well, it's as easy as you can think. We are a complete SaaS platform. And with SaaS, it is very seamless to fit in your existing environment. We have 150 plus native connectors, be it REST-based, log-based, file-based, and also major OLTP and cloud-based data warehouses, OLAP as your destination. So whether that's Snowflake, BigQuery, Redshift, with even if you have a broad mix of SaaS and internal data sources, Hivo sits right at the center, ensuring a clean connectivity and also the complete observability.
Awesome, awesome. Fair enough. Moving on to the much awaited section for everybody. Time for demo now.
Great.
Th-
As I share my screen, I would love the audience. They can drop their internal sources in the chat and we can help them, figure that out. Great. Just a second.
By the time, guys, I've launched a poll. Would love to know where you are in your journey of observability, and probably what would be more important for you all, so that we can customize the section accordingly.
Great. I hope my screen is visible.
Yep, it is visible.
All right, let's get straight into it. This is Hevo data. This is the landing screen as you log into Hevo. You can see all of the pipelines running in over here, taking data from a source, moving it to a destination. But the process is very simple. So let's start from the basic. Let's create a pipeline. Now create pipeline, you just need to click on this button. And as I click on the create pipeline button, I'm redirected to this directory, which is handling all the native connectors that we have spread across the nature of their usage across different business verticals. So their database and file systems, engineering and analytics-based sources, finance and accounting-based sources, marketing, product, sales and support, so on and so forth, right? I'll be utilizing a database connector today. So let me just type in MySQL. Now, okay, where do I want to load my data? Okay, Snowflake. Now this is the first step. Hevo is asking me, what is the pipeline mode that you would want your source data to be captured and ingested with? We provide three modes basically. When it comes to database sources, our ingestion mechanism is purely log-based. So it's asking me bin log because of MySQL. But if you don't want to expose your logs, we do have a table and custom SQL modes as well. I'll choose bin log and click on continue. As I click on continue, you'll see I've been redirected to a source configuration page where I'll be asked details regarding connection towards my source, like host name, port number, what is the username, what is the password. Now, in case a user has the right resources, probably not that technical background, still he can utilize this right-hand side of the page for going through all the steps and connecting his or her relevant data source. That's where we say Hevo is very adaptable for a non-technical user also, and it's also one of our biggest value proposition. So I just type in MySQL, paste my host name, okay, username and password. I'll also define my database name. Now, if you want to connect, via a secure way, we also offer SSH based connectivity. Or in case you want an encrypted connection, you can also use SSL option over here. These are additional settings available for your source. I'll just click on continue and wait for my destination configuration, which is the next step. By the way, this getting started page is available for all the sources in Hevo. So now I'm choosing my destination wherein I want to load my data. Now these are pre-created destination which are available at this click of a button. So you can add, all the cloud-based data warehouses and even OLTPs like SQL Server, Postgres as well as your destination. I'll just click on my Snowflake destination. As I click on it, because it is pre-configured, you can just verify, okay, what is the account name, what was the warehouse data name database name I had specified, even the user through which I want to log into, just to see if the data is moving in the right destination database. Again, for the destination setup also, we have a prerequisite guide which can be followed for you to set up the destination. Again, source done, destination done. Now let's configure our pipeline. Just give it a second. There you go. Now this is where you actually define how your objects will be flowing in the destination, how much control you have in terms of loading them from the relevant source, right? So let me just name it demo days. I have to define a prefix. Now, this is very important. You don't want, every time creating a new destination and then, setting up tables into a relevant schema that you have defined in separate destination. We are defining a prefix right then and there. So once you have set a prefix, at the pipeline level, you can segregate, okay, where do I actually want to load all my objects into? I'm just defining it over here. Then comes an important part. What is the load mode? So we offer merge as well as append. Merge meaning, let's say if a record was already inserted, if there are updates within those existing records, those will be captured. In case it's a new record, it will be a pure insert. Now, there might be cases where you want to maintain history of all the records that are being, added to your dataset. For that, we also have append option, which basically is adding new records at the end of the dataset. It's not modifying, not deleting any existing data. So depending on what is your use case, you can choose your load mode. Tying back to our discussion now, error handling, failure handling. Right at the pipeline creation step, we have defined what should be a failure handling policy. Meaning, how do you want to, or what is the condition through which you want to define your load? We are saying that, okay, if there are less than 10K failed objects, then you do the load into the destination. Let's say there are even zero, one or two failed events. Don't load the data. Moving on, we would like to customize this failure handling policies for our users so that they can define their threshold and their policy for their individual connector. Schema change were also discussed in terms of how easily are we adapting to drifts and managing them in the destination. We have schema evaluation policy for you. Allow all changes, meaning let's say if there's a new schema added table column in your existing tables, it should be replicating in the destination on the fly. The reverse is also possible. Let's say you do not want all of these operations. You can block all changes. Or if you only want, let's say, backfilling cases and only column level changes to be accustomed, you can choose the allow column level changes only option. I'll just go for allow all changes, and then comes the replication type. With all ELT solutions, you know all the different type of workloads, historical and incremental workloads are the base, right? You get your entire history of data available in your database, and then right from the point in time you build your pipeline, you want the incremental data starting. This is what we are giving you as an option as well, to choose your replication type, historical and incremental, or in case you only want incremental, you can do that as well. So both options are available. Then comes the sync frequency, which is how often you want Hevo to talk to your source and poll data. So I'll just keep it 1 hour. You can go every n minutes, depending on your use case. And finally, we also talked about latency, right? Latency being the difference of when a record was created or updated the source to when it was loaded in your destination. Now there might be certain downstream, SLAs or stakeholder requirements you're meeting, for which latency becomes really important. So you can send your alerts depending on what threshold you want. You can define the threshold and send alerts to yourself in terms of you also adhering to the SLA depending on what latency you're ingesting your data into, right? So you can do that. And yeah, we are now to the penultimate step, which is configuring our objects. This also becomes really important because, okay, you'll say to me that, hey, all right, I'm seeing all my pipeline control at the overall level, but how much granular I can go? But this is the answer to it. You select your objects, right? We talked about load mode being merge and append at the pipeline level. But let's say if there are cases where one object is probably not suitable for merge, you want to maintain history of certain objects, especially in finance based scenarios wherein auditability is very important and few of the objects become really mandatory for without any merge operation. You want to maintain history, so at an object level you can choose to define your or change your load mode as well as you go along. In case you don't want certain fields, you can include and exclude depending on your use case. Now you'll see, as I select on this, you'll see I have some objects selected with me, some objects not selected. uh, the reason being, you'll see that, okay, he was saying me that there's no primary key defined, man. Uh, if I want you to load this object, you have to define this primary key. You don't have to go back to your database, write some 10 odd queries, to do this. I'll just click on this. Okay, if I know the relevant field, I'll just click on this primary key option over here, apply some changes. And with the click of a button, you will see I've added one more field, which was pointed out as not having primary key. I added the key and also selected an object further. That's about it. And as I click on save and continue, you'll see, okay, I'm asked for all the verification, review all the points, source, destination, pipeline, objects, and save. Now to save our time, I already have a pipeline created. So let's go to that. Great. So this is how a pre-created running pipeline looks like. The first tab is job history. Like I mentioned, Hevo is giving you that option of tracking your uh, data flow at every stage, you know. So you have your historical job, when was it started, what was the duration, you know, how many objects did it ingest, how much volume did it ingest, right? You can look at a very granular level. You can even go at an individual object level. Okay, for example, my sequence 1m object took about 17 minutes, right? 2 minutes for ingestion, 1 minute 9 seconds for duration for load. These were some of the statistics that will be very relevant to me, you know, as I plan to scale up my database. Now, this is about historical job. You can download session logs, have more granular analysis of all the ingestions that have happened over here. Moving forward, you also have incremental jobs, right? So the first job will be your historical job. Now, every job, because this is 1 hour, you'll see after every 1 hour, you'll have one incremental job, which you can track independently. Now, let's say if there are failure in one job, it is not the same queue. Your other job, incremental job, will run in parallel. So you can, you know, resolve uh, queuing issues, and also you can focus more on, okay, let me focus on resolving one job while other job will, you know, continue to run without all the errors. So you can have that liberty of, you know, focusing on important things and not, you know, the entire pipeline altogether. So you'll have the incremental jobs. Now there are no incremental data running. So you see 0, 0 over here, but predominantly after your historical job runs, you have your incremental jobs running in based on the sync frequency that you have defined. And at every job level, you can download a session log for more granular analysis. Maybe put this into your, CloudWatch or any other analysis tool that you would want to. So this was about jobs and how do we help you monitor every stage of your data movement. There are a few more aspects. Let's say if you want to change anything in your pipeline setup as you go along. Uh, for example, you want to maybe add more database, right? You can always edit your source, add those specific databases further. You can also reconfigure the pipeline based on, you know, changing any load mode for the overall pipeline, or what was the specific schema evolution that you wanted to do. You can also do it. Let's have a look at all the objects that we have ingested. So you have a particular view of all the objects. This is where you're tracking that, okay, I selected about 49 objects. All of them are listed down over here. These are all my primary keys, and I can view all the fields with the click of a button. For all the activities that we did just now, you know, while all our pipelines and our jobs were running, are logged in the activity logs. So this can be further added into your CloudWatch and other governance tools to track, okay, which particular user did what activity, what was the change that happened in a particular pipeline. Uh, Adds up to your governance angle as you scale up and add more and more pipelines. So we are logging each and every activity, right from pipeline creation to any settings that have been updated in the pipeline. This was all about pipelines, but let's look briefly into alerts. So as I click on alerts over here, you'll see all the active pipelines come under a subscription, telling you that, hey, we've got it covered. We know all your pipelines from which source to which destination they are moving, uh, who has created it. Still, if you want more, governance in it, or more collaboration in it rather, you can add more recipients to, to see this pipeline. So let's say you have a DL which is taken care by all of your data analysts, or maybe a Slack group which is being used by all your data engineers who are managing different pipelines. You can authenticate that DL or that Slack channel in this subscription so that you can track actively what's happening in your pipeline for any error. Then comes a very important part. We talked about alerts being adaptive. So you can see alert preferences option over here. So we are not saying that, okay, just failures and we'll let you know. will notify you on job failures, will notify you on job where some fields were ingested, but some completed with failures. If there were some jobs deferred, in case of PostgreSQL, if there's any replication stop dropped, or, your write ahead log monitoring was required. In case your pipeline was deleted, disabled, job escape latency, we've got all the area covered, uh, so that we ensure that there is right and accurate load happening for you with full transparency. So that was about my demo today. I'll hand it over to you, Radhika.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kushagra. I think it was pretty much in depth. When it comes to observability, your platform should be built for it, and that's what we believe in here at Hevo as well, right? Um, so moving on to the next bit where we talk about like what do you what is the feedback from the customers who are actually using these observability features, and what kind of benefits do they get into? So let's get into a quick case study, and then we have a couple of questions waiting for us, so we'll take that as well.
Sure. So we'll be talking about how a leading fintech company achieved complete data observability. So before Evo, they had a fragmented setup, multiple ingestion sources, blend of internal microservices, external APIs, and a warehouse that everything flowed into. The issue wasn't the tool themselves, it was lack of cohesiveness, I'd say. Pipeline ownership was scattered, monitoring was inconsistent. Every team had its own way of moving data, which means that troubleshooting often meant manually stitching logs from different systems, which in a way increases the delay. So the goal was clear: create a unified ingestion layer, establish consistent observability, improve reliability across pipelines, and also prepare for like a continuous growth without slowing down operations. Let's talk about how we achieved it. So this is how the current stack looks like. We integrated Hevo, uh, and you can see all of the different sources which had native connectors. The results were significant with this because with Hevo, when you are stitching everything together, what we ensure for you is zero data loss, ensuring complete accuracy, trust, and reporting, some visibility across your pipelines so that your troubleshooting is dramatically faster. You can also see that SLA maintenance of with 10x growth. So it is telling us that your data stayed timely, and all of this has definitely led to faster decision making thanks to consistent and high data quality. So in short, they went from a reactive, fragmented data practice to a more proactive, observable and scalable ecosystem altogether.
Got it. That's pretty amazing. I think I'll probably like to conclude the whole conversation with one line and saying that everybody wants reliable data, right? That's the talk of the town. Like, what's the reliable data for my AI model or my ML or my dashboards? But to achieve that reliability, observability is something that should be built in, and that kind of assures you that reliable data. Thank you so much, Kushagra, for walking us through each and every piece of observability and how Hero works. We'll quickly get down to the questions. Our first question is from Richard, that can the observability tools be placed on schemas that are not ingested via Hero? Basically, act as Monte Carlo observability replacement.
Okay. We usually have the schemas observability attached within Hevo. So, for you to have observability tools placed on schema that are not ingested would currently not be possible because we are ingesting a particular data. After ingestion, we form the schema. So in a way, the ingested schema itself is that we have. So we can definitely check in terms of integration with Monte Carlo and observability tools as such. with our
We
product.
do too. We do have a Monte Carlo integration. We are good partners with Monte Carlo. Companies like Favor Delivery is already using Hevo and Monte Carlo together.
Right.
Yeah. So if you want like an ingestion tool and a tool like Monte Carlo, we do integrate. As of now, we don't act as a Monte Carlo.
Uh,
Awesome. Going on to the next question, does the primary key get added to the database layer or is it done on the Hevo level?
it's not added by Hevo. Like I mentioned, when we are talking about, you know, using a log based method for ingesting data, with logs we are getting those details for change detection, and detection essentially is primary key based. So with the logs we are getting the primary key details. However, in case they, let's say, for example, in non-log based modes, or in custom SQL modes, for example, you don't have an option of using the logs. In that case, you will have to define your primary key. That's the second case. But with first case, we usually have change detections, logics, reading from the logs itself.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think we had these two questions. Guys, feel free to ask your questions right here, right now. It would be great if we can answer them. If not, we'll drop an email with the recording and with like a way to have like a further conversation with us. There's just one more request from my side. Please feel free to give us your feedback against like how did you like the session. It makes us do better next time, and be better at the topics that we are presenting. We'll wait for 1 minute, see if folks have more questions, and if not, we'll probably conclude the demo day. Meanwhile, again, Kushag, thank you so much for taking us through each step of observability. I'm excited to cover new topics that our audience have suggested so far.
Sure.
Awesome. Just giving it a couple of seconds, looking at if folks have more questions. Oh, I do see one more question. Oh, cool. We got a thank you note from Steven. Thank you so much, Steven, for joining in.
Even I recognize you. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks everybody who joined in today. Thanks, Kushagra. Hopefully we meet soon again for a demo day or a webinar.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.